Welcome everybody. I am introducing our theme. Today is for home sellers. I'm Beth Golding with Remax Advantage, and I'm here today with my special guest, Sheri Cash from Rate Lending. Thanks for being here with me today.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Okay, so we've teamed up to give you a clear, stress-free plan to help you make your move confidently and quickly. If you're thinking of selling, this is your sign to start with a Rate team. So we're here to talk about everything seller this month, and it's a great seller's market, but of course we still need a plan. We still need a strategy to go along. So some of the things that you need to keep in mind when you are a seller is, where do I go? How much money am I going to walk away with? Can I buy before I need to sell? And there's all of these questions, and it's very normal, very typical when home buyers come to myself and to Sheri in the very beginning, home sellers that are looking to purchase. So this is where having the right team, a realtor and a lender who communicate, collaborate, and care really makes all of the difference, because we go the extra mile and we're working together with our clients from day one. Anytime I get a phone call from a home seller from the very beginning, we start first with your home market analysis. I will come over your house. I will take a look at your house, your most recent updates, how big your house is, how big is your property, any updates that you've made. We're going to take note of all of those things. I'm going to take some pictures of your house while we're walking through, and then I'm going to get back to my computer and I'm going to compare that with all of the most recent sales. So I'm going to compare that with everything that's sold recently, everything that's under contract, and everything that's currently listed. And what we're going to do with that is we're going to give you a really good up-to-date market analysis, and that's going to determine what our list price would be. So once we determine what the list price would be, I go back into my system and I prepare a seller net sheet. So what that tells you is, here's my list price, here's my expenses, and then this is what I'm going to walk away with. And at the end of the day, that's just going to set everybody up for success. And then after all of that's done, we're going to take all of that information and we are going to give it over to Sheri. And what Sheri's going to do with that is she's going to be able to help you make some decisions. So do you want to talk about that a little bit, Sheri? Like what type of decisions the home market analysis and seller net sheet and equity position of the seller helps you determine with them?
Absolutely. And I think that this is a real key piece for listing agents to discuss with sellers, because I find that a lot of sellers forget to be pre-approved for their purchase. They're so focused on selling and preparing their house for sale that they forget to talk about their own options and what they're doing with their purchase. So having an idea of what they will net it makes a big difference when I discuss financing options with them, because whether you're buying for the first time or you're selling and buying, we still go back to the basics. How much cash do you have and where do you want your monthly payment to be? Because those are the two checks that people have to write. So knowing what their estimated net proceeds are and having them have already gone through that process with you and they know their numbers, it makes the pre-approval for their home purchase a lot quicker and a lot more accurate. So there's no surprises down the road.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that, there's a few choices when we're talking about different loan options. When you're a home seller and you're getting ready to upsize, downsize, make a move, there's a few choices that you typically go over with them depending on how much equity they have to use.
Well, and this is also a conversation that you and I have for each specific case, because it's not, if they're looking at a real competitive price range, writing a contingent offer, and what that means is that you write an offer contingent on the sale of your home. So the seller actually has to wait for you to sell your home before you can close on their purchase. And if for some reason they take their house off the market because you wrote a contingent offer and then you don't sell your house, then they've lost all that market time. So not all sellers are willing to accept a contingent offer. So that's always something that you and I discuss so that we have an idea of what game plan that we want to go to. In this market, I'm doing quite a few bridge loans, and Beth, you and I have had some close very successfully. And the bridge loans allow a seller that has equity to tap into a portion of that equity before they list their house for sale, before they sell it. So that money can be used for their down payment, closing costs, moving expenses, and also costs to update their home. So if you have a seller that has a house that they would sell for more, if they could update maybe the paint and flooring or, whatever the case may be, whatever you recommend, we could take that equity out, have them buy their new home, and then they could do those updates, and then you can list the house for top dollar. And sometimes that really works out because, it also eliminates the need for when you're selling a house, you always have to have it ready for showings. And if you have kids and pets and dogs, you have to figure out what to do with all of them. And, you have those rushed mornings, and sometimes you don't have quite have enough time to make that bed or wash those dishes, so it alleviates all of that stress as well. So depending on how much equity the seller has and which way it's better for them, with both the sale and the purchase, then we'd look at which loan options work better for them.
Yes, absolutely. I'd totally like to break down everything that you just said. And I have some past clients that reached out to me. I believe that they own their house for about 13 years. And we've stayed in touch this whole time. And they reached out to me and they were ready to make a move. So the first thing that I did was I had a Zoom meeting with both of them. It was very convenient. Their schedules are very challenging. So we just popped on Zoom, which was great. And we talked about it. So, of course, the first thing we talk about is why are you thinking about making a move? What's going on? So for them, it was a job. So he had a job offer. We could possibly be moving out of state. That's a big whole element in itself, right? So I asked them some pre-questions, which really kind of helped me determine what their next steps may be or what they may want to check out. So at that point, with the amount of equity that they have earned over time from not only paying down their mortgage, but also from the market changes that we've had and from the appreciation that they've seen on their house, it seemed like a bridge loan may have been a good choice for them. So at that point, we had a meeting together with them as well. Did you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So when we do the bridge loan, it is two different loans. We do the bridge loan on the sale, and then we do the purchase loan on the purchase. So what the bridge loan allowed these particular folks to do is they had substantial equity. So they took their equity out. They were relocating to a different state, which is a big move. It's not as, moving 3 or 4 miles down the road is a big move, but when you move out of state, it's a bigger deal. So they were able to go on down to North Carolina, look at houses, write a contract. In this case, they did not qualify for both mortgage payments. So one of the benefits of the bridge loan is that we don't have to count your current mortgage payment in your debt to income ratio for your new house. So that doesn't even come into play. So that allowed them to qualify for more home down in North Carolina, take that equity out, and go ahead and go to settlement on that house, move from Maryland to there. And then I think they did some updating too.
Yeah.
And then how much more were you able to list their house for after they did the updating versus before, do you think?
Absolutely. First, I'll talk about our North Carolina move. A lot of people don't realize that real estate agents, we have connections all over the state and actually all over the world, really. So there are agents that we have access to that we can interview and, try to make sure that they are a good fit for our clients before they even make a move. And just so happened where these clients wanted to move, I had an agent connection down there that I've known her over 6 months, really great person. That agent actually had a lot in common with these buyers, which was really cool too. So they both had small kids, so they had a lot to talk about. So that was really great. We had a meeting together on Zoom. We all got together, did introductions, and they just had that immediate connection, which was so awesome. So when they went down there, they already knew them. They already felt comfortable with them. It was so great how everything was handed off with that. So once they did that, then they actually found their house on their very first trip.
I know, it was amazing. Usually we take 10 trips down, and they like once the ball started rolling for them, it just went quickly.
It did. And the cool part also about this agent is not only is she a great referral agent, but she's also a military relo agent. So she helps a lot of military folks relocate. Her name is Brittany. And so with that, it's great because she takes a GoPro, she puts it on her car, she videotapes down streets. Like, she goes 100% over and above just to make sure that her clients are feeling good about the neighborhood, where they're living, all of those things, because she deals with a lot of military where they can't do a lot of travel to check out different areas. So like with that little added extra thing, it was super amazing. So they got their house under contract. And then, as you said, there are certain things with your equity that you can tap into and you can pay for if you have that appreciation and you have that equity factor. And just to recap that, that is home repairs, 6 months worth of payments, moving costs, their down payment for the next home. And, you know, with those 6 months of payments, that means they don't have a double payment.
Right.
Yeah, which is super amazing.
Right. And as we're sitting here talking about it, and it's a great reminder of how many of us were coordinating together to make this happen. You know, we had you helping them up in Maryland with their sale. We had the agent helping them down in North Carolina with their purchase. He was in the middle of a job change. And then, you know, we had the bridge loan and we had the purchase loan, you know, the purchase loan. So one might think, wow, that's just going to be total chaos, but it wasn't.
No.
Thanks to things like Zoom, where we could all get on a call and just kind of update each other, and we knew exactly where everybody was. And then the borrowers always felt like they knew exactly what was happening and they knew the team was working together. I think that that was a key piece of this whole thing, this whole move being successful.
Yeah, definitely feels really good. Hindsight for sure. I was also able to introduce them to some local contractors who gave them some numbers, some better deals, which I think was really great.
You know, and I think also that it's not only the additional money that they sell their house for, but I think that the thing that draws me towards the bridge loans is the convenience, especially if you have small children. You know, you're living in that house. And I like my house is always picked up, but it's very lived in. It's very neat. You know, we have all kinds of pictures and things like that around.
Yeah.
Also, when you walk into a house that you're looking to buy, you want to be able to mentally put yourself in that house. And it's hard to do when it's full with somebody else's stuff and everything. So by having them move out first and do the sale, they didn't have to worry about the kids and the pets with people coming in and having the house show ready all the time. And then you were able to get in there and stage it so that when somebody walked in, they could kind of put themselves in that house.
Yeah.
And, you know, not only does it reduce so much stress on the seller's side, but it also helps with the showings too.
You talk about timeline, that's 100%. Absolutely. Yes. After, you know, they were pre-qualified with you, we had our game plan with the bridge loan. They knew that they were going to make that move to North Carolina. They started looking at houses. We immediately went and got those contractor estimates.
Right.
We knew what budget we were working with. We knew what updates would net them the most money by making. So we got those contractor estimates even before they were under contract, even before they had that money in their bank account. And what that allowed them to do was, once they had their property under contract in North Carolina, and once we were rolling with everything, then everything else came into play. And they had their settlement, they got their money. We got the contractors out there from the very beginning. We're talking to these contractors, we're getting the estimates done, and we're also talking to the contractors about the timeline, because we want to make sure that we get the right fit of contractor to help out with this type of a situation, because we have a close date. We know when, you know, the work can start, but if we have a contractor that's not very available and can't make that happen, then we need to go find another contractor that can accommodate our timeline. So doing that work up front was also very instrumental in everything just, you know, running into place. And honestly, so we had a deadline, right, that we had to list their home after they purchased their new one. So you have a deadline. And we were actually under contract before the deadline to list the home.
Right. It's all about having the whole picture and having a team work with you with the whole picture and being proactive. And with that point, with the bridge loan, you have, I think it's 30 days to list the property for sale. So you have that time to make any updates and clean, you know, have the house professionally cleaned and things like that. And then you have up to 6 months to sell the property. At the end of 6 months, then the company that holds the bridge loan comes back to the seller and the real estate agent to discuss, you know, if the house isn't selling, why, and that type of thing. But I'm not sure anything's sitting in this market, you know, for 6 months.
In Baltimore, no.
Yeah. There are options at the end of those 6 months. It's not like the
Yeah.
people just lose their house or something like that, but,
Yeah. They
we
don't
want to
really want to
talk
buy the
about.
house. They
Right.
don't really want to buy the house.
No, they don't
No,
want to buy a house.
that's not their end game.
They'd like to, try to work with you about what changes need to be made to make it sell and that type of thing. So I really don't see a downside of the bridge loan if a seller has the equity to do that. And I know personally, I would much rather move out of my house first than to have people coming through to look at it every day or every couple days.
If you prepare your house properly and if you price it properly,
Right.
it's still going to sell fast. I mean, you have to think about leading up to that. If you're on the market a week, if you're on the market for 2 weeks, and it can be people trudging through your house every hour, every half an hour, it can really be overwhelming. So you're 100% on the money there. When you do it this way and you're out of the house, it's vacant, people can come through, and you don't have to worry about leaving the house. People have gone on vacation before.
Right.
Honestly, they're like, I'm going away for the weekend. I can't even manage or deal with this. We try to prepare people for what to expect. And some people, I don't think they believe us.
Right, exactly.
But
They don't believe you until about the third showing. I remember my husband and I listed a house, and I can remember, rushing around to get everything set because they were coming to look at it. I had to take the dog out, and I get the message that they've left the house. So I come back home. It's a rainy day, and I get all comfortable, curl up on my couch with a book, and then there's another showing. Grab the dog, out the house we go. And sometimes that's what it is. And if you have to sell your house like that, if you don't have the equity, then we deal with it and we learn how to deal with it. And you do a great job of preparing sellers for that. But if you have the equity to work with, a bridge loan is such a better way to go. And
Yeah.
I've also had clients that didn't have as much equity as our clients that we're talking about today, where they didn't have the money to take out enough for a down payment and closing, but they did have enough equity to not have to count that payment, and they're qualifying for the new house, and to buy and move and then sell their house after. And the reason that she did that, even though she didn't have, a big lump sum to work with, like, some people do, she did it so that she could buy and move on her own terms.
Yeah.
And not have to, she didn't want anybody coming through. She was a very private person. So there's a lot of different reasons that we do the bridge loan.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's a very good example. Okay, so now we're going to talk about sellers and just some common pitfalls when they're going through this process. So one of them is waiting too long to reach out. And I think when people are starting to think about making a move is really the best time to start reaching out, because I don't like stress for myself, for you, and for the client. And if they reach out now, and if they have a plan in place, they can literally get pre-qualified and sit back,
Exactly.
because they know their position, they know what they can do, what they can't do, and then they can home shop.
Right. And I think
Yeah.
it's so important for them to have an idea of what they can sell the home for. You'll have recommendations of things, little things that they can do around the house to make it more visually appealing when people come through and look. And so many sellers forget, they don't even think about the pre-approval process because they think, oh, I have a mortgage, so I'll qualify for a new one. But while you've owned that home, sometimes life happens and throws a few curveballs. And it may, if it's been 20 years since you bought a house, qualifying has changed since then. So I think it's always good to get a head start. The earlier the start that someone can get, the less rushed and stressed everything is.
Yes. And I'll tell you too, I think, just speaking to that wonderful example, one of my biggest things with my home sellers is I'll get that phone call and out of the blue, like, oh my God, I saw this house. It just hit the market and I need this in my life.
Right. Right. And you know what? When that happens, we roll with the flow. We can do it quickly and then we can do it slow. And I think the thing that I love about working with you is that we always work according to the buyer and seller's timeline.
Yes.
It's really a big move for them, and it's really all about them, and working around their timeline is very important. And I also have clients, that will send me a text and say, oh my gosh, I just saw this house and it's in the exact neighborhood I want to be in.
Yes.
And I didn't even know I wanted to move until I saw the house.
The issue is with the timeline and the chance of that home seller who is buying a new house, the chance of that house being on the market after they've talk to me, and then they've talked to you, and then they've gotten pre-approved, which we can do it in a day, but does the buyer slash home seller have that availability to complete that application for everybody involved, to give you the documentation that's needed to get pre-approved? Then we need to schedule the appointment for this person to go through the house and see it. And then we need to sit down and submit an offer and all of the things that we need to do. Sometimes we don't have that timeline. When the house hits the market on a Friday and they have showings on Saturday and Sunday and potentially under contract by Monday, that is the very reason that, them doing this process in the beginning and doing that work in the beginning is so important, because when that happens, they've talked to me, they've talked to you, they have their seller net sheet, they know how much equity they have, they know how much bridge loan they qualify for. So when they have that done and that house does hit the market on Friday, all they have to do is call me and say, hey, let's go see it. We go see it, their financing is set, they have their letter, and then we can write our offer non-contingent because they have this bridge loan that they qualify for, and they submit a very competitive offer, and they have the ability to beat out others and potentially under contract by Monday.
Right,
So,
exactly.
yes. Yeah.
If you find yourself in that last minute position, we can definitely make that happen, and I can get a pre-approval done in the same day, or even an underwritten approval with the technology that we have now. So we can make it happen. But I do think it's important, if people are thinking about selling, reach out early so that they know what their figures are, because that will help them make decisions. And then if it's all of a sudden, boom, I found a house I love and I want to move, we can make that happen too. So again, it's all about the buyer and the seller, and we move as quickly or as slowly as they need us to or want us to.
Yes. And just the confidence factor.
Yes.
Is just so much better when the work is done up front and you don't have to rush through it. Because what I find is, if you do have a seller slash buyer that rushes through that process, in a lot of cases, it is such a whirlwind that even if they do get pre-qualified, they look at the house and they go under contract and it's home inspection time, they look back and sometimes there's a little bit of cold feet there.
Right.
Because they're like, oh my gosh, what happened? It happened so fast. Do we really want to make the move? Do we really love this house? So getting that done up front really gets them used to the process. It really slows them down so they don't have to rush. And then they really get to go through that process. What house do I want to move to? Where do I want to move to? What do I want? What do I need? And just to really do it right so they feel good about the whole thing. That's what we're trying to do. Get it done in a way, the work's done up front, they feel good, they're looking at houses, they're really home shopping, and they sit back. I'm just waiting for the right house to hit the market.
Right,
That's
exactly.
So,
Once their pre-approval is done and I have everything in the system, as houses come up on the market that they're interested in, all they have to do is send me a text message, and then I can run them a loan quote on that house so they know the two most important things: what the monthly payment is and how much cash do I need for closing. And we can make sure that, the houses that they're looking at fit in to their plan.
yeah, absolutely. When you reach out with your interest rate updates, people are shopping and they're looking, and then they get a text message from Sheri that says, hey, rates just dropped a little bit. Now might be the right time.
Right.
It's those little things that they can take advantage of because they're ready to go.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. So we're going to do some recap, some final takeaway.
Okay.
So first you want to contact your agent or interview an agent. If you don't have one, I'm available for interviews if you want to sit down and see if we're a good fit. And then you want to have your CMA, and you want to know your numbers. So you want to know what you can sell your house for, what your expenses will be, and what you're going to walk away with at the end of the day, which potentially can give Sheri an idea of, is a bridge loan a good idea for you? Do we have to get creative? Are there other options for you? That's everything that Sheri's going to talk to you about. And then you're going to be working with a team that we already work together. And it's just a shortcut to a smoother, more profitable sale where it's just going to be less worry. It's going to be easier to go through. So I want to invite our listeners to send us a direct message or to email for a free market analysis, and then we can get connected with Sheri. So when we build your plan now, it's not going to feel rushed. It's just going to feel right. So subscribe, share this episode with a friend thinking about selling, and follow along all May for more expert seller tips. So Sheri, do you want to tell everybody how they can reach out to you directly if they have some lending questions about the bridge loan or anything in general?
Absolutely. You can DM me. So the best way to reach me is my email, or cell phone number. I also have a website that you can go on if you want to, start the ball rolling soon. You can go ahead and put the application online. That does allow me to be a little bit more prepared by the time that we talk. But I think that anytime you have questions, just reach out and ask, even if you're not quite ready yet. Once you start thinking about selling your house and buying a new one, you will have all of your friends and family give you the best advice in the world. And they'll also share
True.
all their nightmare stories. So that those things always generate some questions, and we're here for you to bounce those off of too.
Yeah, absolutely. And May is all about sellers.
Yep.
But I think anybody that reaches out to you in May, that you have something to offer them this month.
Absolutely. I am running a rate special. It is product specific, so it depends on what type of financing that you are qualified for and what works for your plan. But that's for rates that people that apply for pre-approval and lock their interest rate by the end of May. So I think that that's a big help, especially with rates being so volatile lately. They go up and down a couple times a day sometimes. I think that it's important to have multiple rate options so that you can be real competitive.
Yes, absolutely. So in closing, so choose your team wisely. It's the biggest move that you're going to make. And when you work with Sheri and I, you're already ahead of the game. Thanks again, Sheri, for being with me today. And I hope that everybody found this really helpful. And if you did, and you're watching this on YouTube, there should be another video that we're going to be connecting to this to take a look at. Have a good one.